Don, as the NDP critic for health, you've been very vocal about Canada's drug policies overall. And you've also called for across-the-board expungement or blanket pardon for marijuana convictions. However, so far, only about 500 applications for pardons have been approved, whereas you pointed out that about 500,000 Canadians have criminal records for simple cannabis possession. So what are the problems with the current pardon process, and how would a blanket pardon actually work? And if you could get into that, if you could maybe talk a bit about what Biden did in the US, because that got a lot of coverage. So people are maybe contrast that with what happened here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I'll just describe the difference between expungement and a pardon. So when you have a criminal record in Canada, we've always had a pardon process, and it's basically a legal process that you can apply for if you have not had any criminal record for a certain period of time, usually 5 years. And not all crimes are capable of being pardoned, but a lot are. And the legal effect of that is that you are pardoned for the criminal record. It allows you to legally tell people that you don't have a criminal record. Your record is sealed, but it still exists. So probably everybody's filled out an employment application, and there's a question on there: have you ever been convicted of a criminal record for which a pardon has not been granted? It would allow you to say no to that. But the record still exists somewhere, and it still is able to be used against you in certain legal contexts. For instance, if you were to get into legal trouble in the future, it's not inconceivable that that record can come back and be used against you. And expungement, on the other hand, is a legal process and term that that is, once granted, means that the crime never existed. The criminal offense never existed at all. So instead of having a crime record that has been pardoned, it's you have never had the criminal record at all. Now, we warned the government about this at the very beginning. My colleague Murray Rankin, who was Justice Critic at the time, introduced legislation in the House of Commons in 2019 that would have automatic expungement for all cannabis-related records. In one fell swoop, if we passed that law, boom, everybody in the country that had criminal records for the prescribed list, possession, simple possession, there were lots of different records, would have immediately had their records expunged. They could tell people, I've never been convicted of a crime. The Liberals defeated that legislation. And the other problem about pardons is that the process is expensive, it's complicated, it's time consuming, it's really inaccessible to a lot of people, particularly marginalized people who, don't have access to a lawyer, they don't understand the process, they don't have the money. Now, in August of 2019, in classic Liberal fashion, to move incrementally in a small step, after rejecting our motion to expunge all records, the Liberals launched a program to provide what they said would be no-cost expedited record suspensions for simple possession of cannabis. That still required people to apply. Now, again, if you think of the population that are carrying these records, very often they're people that, were young, they may be from marginalized communities, they may have moved. And incidentally, records are kept in weird places in this country. Like criminal records are in courthouses, in rural areas, they're in police departments. It's not even clear to people where their record is. And so predictably, as you just pointed out, since that attempt by the Liberals, the Parole Board of Canada has received only 972 applications for record suspensions. And of those 972 applications, only 628 have been granted.